It is time to engage. This is it, guys. We are talking about the 15th and final episode of the first season of Star Trek Discovery. Will you take my hand? And so, guys, will you take my hand? Did it trek it? Or did it wreck it? Let's get into it and find out. I've got Vanya, I've got Kat. It's going to be a very exciting time. I'm Matt, as I usually am. But the question is this Mirror Kat? We don't know. She's not dressed like a lowlife, so...
I tried very hard to look like a lowlife. I put on my pants. I didn't have a hipster scarf to wear.
Or like 8.
Or like 9, or like cool leather stuff.
According to George, like, you do look like a lowlife because you look sexy. Like,
I'm a sexy lowlife.
That's the funny thing, like
it just
a mirror universe idea of a lowlife. It really makes you wonder if it's like, you know, just being dressed like you're in a Ben Stiller movie. It's like, that must be, Derelict is being lowlife.
And they had to really do their, like, wingtip eyes.
Yeah.
While they're watching, like, YouTube videos on how to
Nothing says lowlife like really deep mascara.
And straight hair.
Really straight hair. Apparently straight hair. Evil.
Yeah.
Curly hair. And,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
I think it might be that if you can afford Velcro rollers, you're living the high life.
That's it.
Straight hair, low life. Kind of just makes sense.
It's true.
All right, so let's get into this. This was a 45-minute episode. It's pretty average length. You know, when a show like Game of Thrones has their finale, often it's like a little extra long. And honestly, if Star Trek Discovery is trying to model itself after anything, it would have the, you know, financial incentive to model itself after HBO, CBS All Access being what it is. And so, like, we can kind of consider that that's how you do it right. I'm not saying Season 7 of Game of Thrones was excellent, but there is no show on Earth more explosive, covered, loved at this moment than Game of Thrones. It has unprecedented success. So let's kind of consider the ending of premium cable shows when we're talking about this episode. Because it's not Best of Both Worlds Part 1, it's not even The Neutral Zone. This is an episode that is on premium cable, so this is something new and something different. So, Vanya, what did you think about having Giorgio back and the way she executed it?
Well, I think it's interesting. Like, having Giorgio back is like, she was doing what she would do as somebody from the Mirror Universe. She was just acting like herself, and everybody else was like, I was just like baffled that she was acting that way. But none of the people that don't know were even aware. Right? They weren't even thinking, maybe this isn't our Giorgio.
Yeah.
And also,
considering they all just came back from the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, I found it really, actually really frustrating that Tilly hadn't figured that out, and that she was immediately talking to her like she was Giorgio, like the Prime Universe Giorgio.
Yeah, like the simplest answer is that this person is resurrected from the dead.
Yeah, I found that really frustrating, and so she was just behaving the way she would. I also was really upset with Sarek and the Admiral, because it's like, okay, you set up that situation, and then you just leave. I thought the whole thing was like,
babysit it, marionette it.
They were going to be like, okay, she's in charge of the mission or whatever, but we're going to still be here. Because we're not going to just leave our kids with, like, a serial killer.
Yeah,
right?
Like the most megalomaniacal villain possible. Totally safe.
Right? Like, so I just thought that was really, I really thought they were going to be, like, there still. And then when I found out, oh, they're gone. Oh, they're just like,
they're just trusting her.
Okay, they don't have like the best decision making, considering the Admiral was hanging out with Gabriel and not really knowing that he was from the Mirror Universe the whole time, and was like,
guys, everyone in this show is dumb.
No, really?
Is everyone in this show, like, not the actors, the characters in the show all seem pretty dumb.
Not all of them. Like, well, they kill off the ones that are...
The smart ones die
Culver
first.
seemed pretty sharp.
Yeah.
And gone. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, I mean, Tyler... you know, double agent, so...
Yeah.
His cred has been totally challenged. You know, you can't be, like, half book and half, like, I know.
Boatman,
I know, exactly. But wait a minute, guys, what about, like, you know, a little metalhead dude and, like, cool, like, shorn chick, Denver or whatever. It's like, you guys saw... Detmer?
Detmer.
Oh, Detmer, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You saw them. You saw Georgiou, like, you know, like, you guys survived that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like...
You know who she is.
Even if it's and exactly the same thing. You came from the mirror universe.
It's a crazy, gullible group of people. Computer?
Classified, smashified.
Computer? Computer. We're having a delay on our...
Oh, computer.
Computer? Computer. I feel like I'm in a Romulan. I feel like I'm in a Romulan holodeck that isn't a Romulan holodeck, but the computer has a delay. Anyway, that's all right. So let's swing it around to unless the computer has something to say. Okay, computer.
Okay.
Some of our listeners, our viewers, are agreeing with you. The Georgiou plot device was quite weak and useless, according to Derek. Gary thought the whole thing was weak until the last 15 minutes. And interesting comment about who's going to be who the captain is that they're going to get on Vulcan.
Yes, this idea of we're going to go get your next captain. If these writers couldn't have put more difficult decisions off until later, if they tried. It's like, the captain, why is this ship here? Who's going to play Spock? Why does the Enterprise look dumb? All kinds of things like that are interesting questions. But I want to get there, but let's get there first. At the very beginning, I really felt like Georgiou is really bad at this pretending I'm not me in this universe game. Like, maybe she wasn't even playing it because Lorca was good at that.
But her hair was, like, really pretty, guys.
You got the hair right.
I don't think she'd care.
Yeah.
I think she's just like, okay, I'm on this mission to just destroy the place.
Yeah. So you can shut up and you can shut up.
Yeah.
And,
I really don't think she's trying. I think she's just saying, fuck
not at all. Although we were talking earlier about the one really brilliant line she had to Michael when she said, "Do you know what your problem is? No follow through." And I feel like the writers that wrote that line, I wonder if they realized that it's like autobiographical, that like Discovery sets up interesting things and the follow through seems to be what's lacking. And I feel like that's like Brian Fuller and his ideas being pulled out of Gretchen as the current showrunner, because when you lose your showrunner and other people step in, they are stuck in a world that someone else built, telling a story of their own. Like even Peter Jackson walked into Guillermo del Toro's Hobbit movies and had to start directing movies someone else pre-produced. Ron Howard just finished making Solo. That's a movie pre-produced by Lord and Miller and then directed by Lord and Miller and then thrown out. But it's not easy to walk into something you didn't start and have to finish it. They even said that shot of the Enterprise at the end was not Brian Fuller's idea at all. That was put in by the current showrunners, and they started trying to backpedal and squeeze it into there. But talking about CGI, Kat, did you have any weird thoughts about the planets and the CGI that this episode opened on, where we were like passing through a few ships that, of course, are not special in our hearts? We've known them forever, Klingon ships.
Yeah.
They're these like dumb, we've seen them for 14 episodes in the dark Klingon ships. Then we go into Kronos.
Oh, but...
Or then we go into Earth, then Kronos, then we're back out. Like, did any of that confuse you or irritate you?
I really liked like the weird little bubble, like the map they kept on looking at of Kronos.
The map was cool.
And everything to me felt very save pointy.
Yeah.
It was the save point of Kronos. Quick, save game. And then they went down to Kronos and they went to the camp
filled with NPCs.
It was just, and you're just like, what is this? Why are they, they're like, look, and guns and ammo.
Yeah,
like, what the,
stock
it was
up here.
Just so bizarre to me. So for me, that production design element kind of like made me go, what is happening? Why
On the topic then, what did you think of Orions that we got to see?
What? Okay.
The green
first of all,
skinned Orions.
They were not green. Okay, give me the green. Okay, give me green.
Yeah.
Give me green any day. Green. And this is after Enterprise.
Where they're real green.
Where they were green, and we already established in Enterprise that the women were the ones who had the awesome pheromones and the super awesome powers and like actually ran the world. So
yeah.
for me, I was like, well, wait a minute. Why are there dude slave people there, and then also, and also I was just kind of confused, and then I was really just then can we just talk about Georgiou and her like, hey, guess what? I can do martial arts, but also wear this awesome S&M corset. Hey. What is that?
Yeah, there was a lot of weird in the Orion storyline that is something you, like, kind of shocked me as, hey, we've got 45 minutes to wrap this story up. Let's add Orions out of nowhere and do it kind of sideways and weird.
Oh, and also the Seti eel. Why were there Seti eels there?
Yeah.
Did anyone else notice them? And they were all supposed to be little, right? Little, because I still was running around like this. It doesn't matter, but they were like
maybe
weird
they were.
tubs
Maybe
of
that was a
them.
really small frying pan.
I don't know. Were they going to eat them? What the hell?
And if there are Seti eels, these are of course the Wrath of Khan. Nicholas Meyer goes into Chekhov's ear, makes him do things. It's like a callback. Like, hey, remember these? These are going to happen in a little while. Of course, on a planet that no one goes to and really kind of has never been to, but we farm eels from and don't go back to.
Oh,
so
and
that was a
also
weird
just
thing.
has like really good beaded curtains.
Sweet beaded curtains.
So many sweet beaded curtains.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things happen. Like Orion, that whole. One of the things that really troubled me about the Orion storyline was when Tilly said, listen, this must be really hard for you. And they're finally having like another friend moment, which is great. And just so you know, I got your back. And 2 seconds later, Michael leaves Tilly with the killer.
Yep.
Yep,
totally safe.
So there's like a theme there. It's like the Admiral's like, here's your boss now. Killer. And then she leaves. And then she's like, don't worry, I got your back. Like, I'm your best friend. And then she's just like, I'm just going to walk over here with Ash. And leave you in this abandoned place with a
totally going to be safe here. I'm sure none of these Orion slaves are going to, try to cut your arm off.
No, but let's also go to the tattoo parlor. Well, maybe we'll get some tramp stamps. What was that?
Oh my god. And did anyone notice all the trills? There were so many trills in the Orion.
I don't understand. The other thing too, which was a little confusing, was they were all looking for that one shrine, right? Which all of a sudden the focus of that, like searching for the shrine thing, was totally just let's swing this way and be like, oh, it's a bomb. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there was a lot of...
no follow-through.
There was no follow-through. This episode had a lot of, let's do this and stop, let's do this and stop, let's do this and have a teary-eyed discussion and stop. And it was just like... If we go back to Game of Thrones for a moment, the structure of that, if you look at the 10 hours of Game of Thrones, the last, like, 9/10 of the way through, you're doing, like, some big explodey dragon death thing, and then... 10/10 in the final bit, you're doing like setup for the next episode, the next season, and you're weaving things through. And I feel like they completely just screwed the pooch on being able to properly modulate a season. And we wound up at the end of this season with one thing about, hey, who's your captain going to be? And oh, look, the Enterprise. And like, that's all there is for us to be interested in what's happening next, because they managed to completely deflate the Klingon War, completely deflate the Terran Emperor in our universe storyline, and all the wind is out of all of that in an effort to have Burnham stand there and wax poetic about Starfleet and have us say, oh, it is a Star Trek show because it landed at the end on Star Trek morals.
Yeah.
But they spent 14 hours exploiting the fact that it did none of that.
Yeah, what did you put the crew and like even us as viewers through? Like you want, if you're putting them through all these these trials, I feel like then they should have had more of that, what she was saying at the end of the episode throughout the entire throughout the entire show.
Because now they've hit a button that they can't unhit. If the next season is, oh no, now we need to test Starfleet ideals all the way through and then come out the other end. It's just too much. Computer?
There's agreement with you, Matt, your comments about the episode was very rushed. They had so many hours to clean up storylines, end storylines before this. The war was minimized to the point where it didn't make any sense. It was anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was 7 ships wandering slowly towards Earth.
Yeah. 7
ships.
Yeah, I think that it's something that we've talked about before when we talked about the show, and I used to say a lot, is they're running out of time. They're running out of time to tell what to give the thesis, make their thesis statement about what the show is about.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of tried to really rush it through and wrap it up really quick in the last episode.
With a speech in the last 10 minutes, yeah.
I think that it really depends on intentions for, is this going to be an anthology show? I think that if they really wanted to draw elements of this and, carry the themes on into season 2, there would have been a cliffhanger, guys. There would have been something where you're like, holy crap, what's going to happen next? Instead of like, oh, isn't that cute? Oh, see, hello, Enterprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was giving us what we wanted. So yes, exactly. You deflate all the issues and tie up as many loose ends as possible, and it's like, and that's, see you later, guys. That was a nice run. The weird thing for me was, can we please talk about the eating people?
Yeah.
Please talk.
Is the through line of this entire show cannibalism? Because that's the only apparent theme.
I was totally like,
You
oh
need
my gosh,
seasoning.
You need seasoning, and then let's eat some kelpian, and then all of a sudden I was just like, oh, they're in an underground, and this is a chud show. This is awesome. They're literally out in Orion, they're underground. This is the best.
It
I
just
do
turned
think
into
that
chud.
a lot of that, comes up because it's a shock value, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
The first time? What is it, like the second or third
Yeah,
fourth
no,
time?
I don't think so. I do think, the show, I feel like I would have been okay if there's no cliffhanger at all. Like, if they actually wrapped up the show, and I feel like the only reason really to have a cliffhanger, if it was designed the way Brian Fuller wanted it to be in an anthology, there would be no cliffhanger.
And the way
It
it's
would
designed
end.
now, do you want to see a season 2?
I
Of all of this, did the end of this episode make you go, oh man, season 2?
Do I want to see a season 2 because of what I saw, 15 episodes, and I think, do I want to see an episode? No. Do I want to see an episode because, season 2 because I want more Star Trek, because I always want more Star Trek? Yes.
Exactly. And if it was Star Trek something else, you'd watch it.
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing. For me, I was ready to just throw in the towel until I started seeing NCC, and I was like, oh.
1, 7,
And we knew.
and then the garbled Captain Pike, and you're like, oh, it's Captain Pike.
And for me, that was enough of an incentive to be back next season. Just because I want to know what they're going to do with it. But it's more from a production standpoint. What are they going to do with this as opposed to what's going to happen?
Now, is that because that's really good storytelling, a really interesting idea, or because of a cheap shot?
I don't know, guys, but woo!
Speaking of cheap shots, yes. Computer.
People are already talking about season 2. They're thinking about season 2, like Kat is. They're getting a little bit out of hand. They're making jokes about space whales. And one of you being from the Mirror Universe, just want to say.
Interesting.
If you have no beard,
right?
Season, that
if
means
the beard's
you were
gone, we won't know.
Maybe you were Mirror Matt the entire first season.
Maybe that's why I didn't like it. Maybe that was it. So, on the topic of this mirror, and the fact that we got to have Georgiou sort of immediately out of her Starfleet uniform because it, didn't fit at all, her character, and into this Blade Runner Lorca look. Yeah. Once they were down on the planet, and we met one Orion in particular, Clint Howard's Orion.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that this actor has been in Star Trek since the first season of the first Star Trek ever?
Yeah.
It's Ron Howard's brother, Clint, who was that tiny kid with the giant eyebrows who was behind the animatronic scary alien face that pretty much everyone who references the original series of Star Trek points to and says that's what aliens looked like in original series without realizing that was an alien's bad animatronic alien. But anyway, what did you think about seeing Clint? I mean, Clint's been in some other Star Trek. This isn't his first whoa, he's back moment. But I mean, he was an Orion of the wrong color, but what did you think?
Hanging out with Tilly and smoking up and stuff.
And blaming his race on his behavior.
His race, that's right.
What do you want from me? I'm Orion.
I'm Orion. Hey. I thought it was sort of cute.
I think that,
but it was gimmicky.
Yeah.
It was but it was cute.
I see anytime there's an alum.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
A Star
Trek alum. It gives them some cred, some street cred, some legitimacy in some level.
But I felt the same way when I saw the SETI eels.
Yeah,
I
that's
was like,
true.
oh look, City Hills and Clint Howard.
I like Clint. I like
Clint Howard.
Clint Howard was more compelling than the eels.
Yeah,
I know.
I will say that I always think that like Orions are usually sexy. You know what I mean? And like very like
and either gigantic
or
fit.
luring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Clint Howard, I mean, he doesn't like.
He's sort of the
doesn't
opposite of that.
Fit, he doesn't really fit the Orion bill, but whatever. You know
Speak
what I mean?
for yourself.
Cat's really into Clint as a seafoam green Orion.
But yeah, it's still cool to see him. I really do think the scene with Tilly, I'm like, Tilly, really?
Tilly.
I'm high on noxious fumes.
Yeah.
Basically, like murder smoke
She's
from a volcano.
really lucky that he was just trying to cut through the cup and knock
it would have
her
been way easier to
actual
cut through her
hand.
hand.
Like do something. I thought she was going to be like taken away and sold into like slavery or something.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too, guys. What the heck was that? It's like I'm choosing another member of the away team, and it's Tilly. And Tilly's like. It's like, oh, okay, Shaggy and Scooby, you come along too. Like, what the heck? She wasn't very dependable, except for like the "I got your back" conversation.
But I think this has to go back to the fact that Giorgio's also dumb.
Yeah,
like
pretty much.
Like Emperor Giorgio's pretty dumb, and Captain Giorgio was pretty dumb.
No.
Like they did some really. All these characters do really
dumb.
They make unintelligent, bad Starfleet choices.
No, my idea about her asking for Tilly was that she wanted to know somebody that she kind of knows from the mirror universe, right? Like she knows that what she's capable of even here, right? She's saying,
true.
And so when we see how Tilly acts with the arms dealing thing, it's like what she was expecting. You know what I mean? Like
but she pulls one thing.
And then she goes
then
and runs them,
and then she's straight up.
And then she's straight. Yeah.
That's it for me.
But I feel like what Giorgio was trying to like tap into that part of her.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was no follow through.
No follow through.
You know what I mean? What she could potentially be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where she's
or with the story that writer was going for.
Right. Like
now, bear in mind, this episode was directed by the guy who wrote Batman Forever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have led with that. It's Akiva Goldsman's an interesting choice.
There was just like,
but there are make no mistake, there are 17 producer credits on this show. There are 2 more producer credits than there are episodes in this season. That if anything is going to tell you this show was pulled in 17 different directions, it's that opening sequence with all of those names all being in charge. A producer is someone who is in charge, and executive producers are people who are even more in charge, unless your name is Brian Fuller and you're not even around. So the like field promotion to general that happened, where almost everyone who directed an episode of this show is a producer on this show.
I'm a producer on this show.
Yeah, I believe
I'm
it.
a producer.
Everyone's a producer on this show. Computer?
A couple of people commenting with respect to the no follow-through theme, that if they had, Giorgio would have ended Tilly. There's, it looked like Giorgio was the type who was going to do something.
Yeah.
They're agreeing with you.
Yeah, Giorgio's been pretty defanged.
Well, I mean, when she finds out that she knows about, she should have just Mary Giorgio would totally have killed her.
She would have killed her. She would have killed Michael Burnham. That moment where they're like having that intense conversation, and it's like, you know what? Evil Giorgio would have just been like, boom, see ya.
I can
done.
wrap my head around not wanting to get rid of Burnham more
of
so
course,
than but Tilly to me is more expected.
See, I could or I couldn't wrap my mind around the idea of Giorgio killing Burnham if I had any frigging clue what happened to Mirror Burnham. But again, no follow-through, I don't know. Did Giorgio kill Burnham? Burnham makes a wild guess that you'll have to watch me die again. But I have no reason, as a viewer, to think that's the case. Maybe Burnham does, but you kind of need to tell the story to the audience, not to the other characters.
Sometimes they tell us too much.
Except when they tell us way too much. And then they don't tell us
too little.
Yeah. Like, everything about Discovery is too fast and too slow, too bright and too dark, too actiony and too
detailed,
too quiet. Yeah, too detailed and too missing details. Everything about this show is like constantly able to be too much of something and then not enough. And I think that's being pulled. It's like a mirror. I feel like it is, and I feel like that's because it's being pulled in 2 different directions by 2 different showrunners, or 2 different groups of showrunners with 2 different visions. Computer?
Sonia was thinking about that. who could they replace with respect to the creators and producers in order to make this better?
I would say no. I wouldn't touch Star Trek with a 10-foot pole. I want to see what they do, because I think Gretchen, able to begin a season the way she wants and just go into it, could make for a great show. I feel like putting all my cards on the table, this is the second best first season of Star Trek ever. Like, Voyager's first season is garbage, much like the rest of it. The DS9's first season is almost unwatchable. The first season of TNG is more comedy than drama. The first season of Enterprise made me want to made me happy it didn't say Star Trek Enterprise. But the first season of Star Trek, the original series, is excellent television. And Discovery is better than everything but The Next Generation. And that's weird. Because this isn't really good.
Is this going to have the nostalgia lens, guys? Are we going to be able to look back on this and be like, oh yeah, this is a really good episode.
Oh man, remember before Klingons had 3 heads? Yeah. Oh, it's great. Back then when they were only designed a little bit differently, it was wonderful.
If it grows a beard in the second season.
Will it grow the beard? Will it shave the head?
Yeah, we can totally forgive this because we've done it. We've forgiven, every Star Trek fan has forgiven all the other freshman seasons.
Star Trek Voyager Threshold.
Yeah.
We still watch Voyager. Star Trek Voyager Threshold.
I do really feel like, in my opinion, and I know that I realize...
There, I said it. I love Voyager. I love first season TNG. I love Enterprise, damn it! And I'm not Mirror Universe Cat!
Well, I do feel like if we are going to be true, the fans that we've been before, you know what I mean, and it actually is good in the second season, then we will forgive season 1 of Discovery like we have every other show.
Guys,
absolutely.
There are some cool things in Discovery.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, the season is not that bad. Like, if you look at first seasons, like Matt said, you know what I mean?
You're right. And it is. But the thing we're not used to, the major mold that has been broken is that it is not an episodic arc. It is that season arc. And for us, it's enough to jangle your nerves.
But this show didn't even have a season arc as much as it had 3 little seasons. It had a little 2-hour season. It had like a 7-hour season. And then it had another 5-hour season. And it was just like, or 6. And it's just like, that's weird.
Well, we got to see the discotheque. And we got to see like really cool things. And we got to hear a swear word.
And the other thing that was a little unsettling, you know, as Star Trek fans, is the things that weren't canon, right? Because all the other shows are pretty canon. There are things that change. There are things that are not Gene Roddenberry check in other shows, like DS9 is a prime example of that, right? So there are things that have changed over the years, but canon is not one of the things that have really changed.
The Enterprise has always looked like the Enterprise. And whether it was going back in time in the most recent series, which was the Mirror Darkly episodes where they were on the Defiant, or whether it was Trouble with Tribbles, where they were on the Enterprise using stock footage, they were always showing the Enterprise as the Enterprise, even the CGI version. So yeah, let's talk about getting to see... a Connie in person. We got to see in the flesh or in the bones, in the metal.
In the bones.
We got to see. We got to see 1701. What did you guys think?
I thought Rosie the Riveter. That's like the first thing I thought. I was like, "What? Yes, we can do it!" Because what the heck was that, guys?
I mean, it was obviously fan service, which is interesting.
Yes.
I don't think they can avoid recasting Spock, or I guess getting Zachary Quinto if they've got the money.
But even Pike, like what's going to happen?
Yeah, they'll have to find somebody to replace Pike. I mean, he's been cast twice now.
That's true.
I mean, everything about Pike is that he's like the boring Kirk. So that'll be there's a reason the network said replace him. So, I mean, Greenwood would be too old at this stage to play that character. So we can't even pretend they look like that in this universe because he'd be too old.
I'm wondering, though, if they're going to pull another weird stunt where it's like, you think you're in this timeline, but you're actually not yet again, because there are so many multiple timelines and traveling through that
mycelial network. Well, we'll know once we see what Pike is wearing. Because if he's wearing
oh my gosh,
what
you guys,
he should be wearing.
I just thought of the funniest thing in the world. Sorry. You know how Stamets is always like, following the music. And at the end, it's like, oh.
And he's just watching Star Trek?
He's just watching Star Trek.
No.
And he's
There's almost nothing more I hate more than like it was all
a dream is the worst.
It makes me so crazy.
Yeah.
Please let it not be that. Like
if the whole time they were in a different universe, I could deal with that. It would explain a lot. But the thing about the look of this Enterprise
it really
is that we were worried when we saw the wireframe of the Defiant that oh no, is this with a bunch of Terran Empire modifications, or is this with these weird pylon struts and these weird gouges missing in it? Is this what a Constitution-class vessel looks like? And thankfully it's not. It looked a reasonable amount like it should when it showed up. It was lit weird, and that's the thing about Discovery. The aesthetic of ships in space is that they're lit by the discotheque instead of being lit by the sun. So instead of having one like strong sun like fill light or one strong key light as the ship goes by, it's like lit by this purple nebula, that green nebula, and then it's a little bit self-lit by the bright nacelles and things like that. And so when you consider that, the Enterprise actually looks a bit like the Enterprise. Especially when it's coming at you.
Yes.
When it's coming at you, it's great. But as soon as you see the back end of the Enterprise, and it's like there's blue nacelle grills that are not on that ship, and then its pylons have like weird holes in them that they don't have. It upset me that at the end it looked less like the Enterprise than it did at the beginning. And it sure soared in beautifully for a ship giving a distress call.
That's very true.
Right? Computer?
That's true.
Christy was one who couldn't get too excited about seeing Enterprise. She was still so deflated from the lack of the so-called biggest war ever.
Right?
Yes.
The biggest war ever.
Can we talk for a second about how Laurel, who was like, total pariah, and that was never addressed again, really. She was like, she was really, really treated badly.
Yeah, like
and
she and Vok were both on the outskirts of society.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're going to listen to her. They're not going to like kill her before she even has a chance to speak. She's going to have that like beautiful podium thing and just be like, oh yeah, and by the way,
here's my bomb.
Here's my bomb. And they're not going to like kill her or try and they're just going to go with it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about the episode. It's super rushed. Everything was just kind of thrown together. I agree with Christy because I feel like I don't really mind too much new design, of the ships. Like I don't mind that all too much. If it looks kind of like enough, I'm there with it. But that wasn't my issue with it. Is that I was just kind of like, oh, it's done now. And I knew the things that I was hoping for throughout the show that I've been pretty positive about, like sticking, like they weren't really wrapped up the way I thought. So by the time the Enterprise came and I saw the NCC, I was kind of like, okay, the Enterprise is here. Like it was the same thing that always happens when I watch Discovery. Is like sometimes I'm like, the surprise, the big reveal is never as big as
right.
And the smaller reveals are always way more impactful. That is always to me the struggle with the show, and so I didn't feel that oomph that I think that they were expecting.
Yeah.
Feel,
well, I think you're right.
Knowing that, oh my gosh, the Enterprise, like that's
putting the Enterprise at the end is actually, it strikes me more like something Fuller would have done. To be like, and the end. See how it all comes together with the Enterprise there? But the fact that this was Gretchen's idea, that the new showrunners decided we should have the Enterprise there, that's what's going to make us want to have season 2. That does the opposite. That's what makes us think the show's over, it's time to go watch the original series.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Computer?
Yeah.
Sonia says, I hope season 2 will not revolve only around one character.
Yes.
One as strong as Burnham and will be an ensemble show again.
Star Trek's an ensemble show. It's about 3 people or it's about 5 people. It's not about
7
one.
people.
Yeah.
But I feel like because it was supposed to be anthology, it makes perfect sense. Like
Tell that story
to
and
me,
get out.
Brian Fuller, I totally get you, Brian Fuller. Like, have one person that it's about and make 15 episodes, one big arc, and then you see their journey is over.
Because you're not going to do
and you'll
7
never
years.
see them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. But now when you try and twist it, like...
Because, if you look at 7 years of The Next Generation, Deanna Troi definitely got 15 episodes in there somewhere.
yeah.
And so if you want to give one character 15 episodes, or at the time it was 13 when Fuller was running it, then you're right. That makes perfect sense. One main character. But now that you've, like, twisted and contorted and turned this into a different show, you need to turn this into a different show, because it's not going to work being about one character. And, they made Saru interesting. They
did,
made
yes.
Stamets into a three-dimensional character and then took away most of what made him that. And then, Tilly has always been quirky and fun, but never anything resembling three-dimensional. And Giorgio has been, was like the least interesting as a captain. And then as the Emperor is the other side of the least interesting. It's like, the only words you can say about Giorgio is that she was a great captain. There's like no other defining trait. She was around for 2 hours, no defining trait other than she was a good captain. And then when you look at the 6 hours, the 5 hours that we got Emperor Giorgio, the only defining traits are that she's kind of a dick. Like,
she eats Kelpians.
Well, that's because
and that's hardly a trait. That's just a dietary choice.
Oh, I know.
And I feel like it's because of the whole like pacing and the not telling us and the trying to like hide things from us, and then you know what I mean. They're not telling character stories at all. So it's like nobody's really getting fleshed out. No one, not even the main character.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's turning into something where if this show is going to continue in this shape, it's got nowhere to go.
Here's the thing, too, guys. I don't know if we're even supposed to be asking questions at this point, or if they're just plot holes, and that bothers me. Because before, I was sort of like, oh, okay, well, hey, maybe the Admiral's from the Mirror Universe, or maybe, you know what I mean, maybe these things are going to resurface, or what about what happened to Lorca in this universe, or what happened here, or what's going on, and again, Ash, what are all these things? Are we supposed to be asking these questions? And the way they even just sort of put everything to bed, good night, made me say, oh, well, wait, is this just, am I supposed to forget about it? Are these coming back in season 2? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the writers just didn't care to complete the most interesting parts of the story, and instead focused on the parts that were in the, like, through line they wrote, without realizing these ancillary questions were fascinating. And also, were, like, key to character. You can't really have that moment where Burnham puts the gun to her own chest without knowing the actual scenario of what happened with Mirror Giorgio and Mirror Burnham. That falls flat. And it's like they don't know how to write TV. Kinda.
But they even had to reinforce the weirdest way. Like, I mean, Ash and Michael Burnham have had this relationship off, like, throughout quite a few episodes now. And it was like the last episode where she was like, oh yeah, Klingons killed my family. And you're like, dude,
like that story again, let's do
like,
it.
you think maybe it could have, you guys suck.
I almost feel like, he would have just been like, oh, let me just search this. Anyway.
Yeah, like, look that one up.
You know what I mean? It's like people are like searching people before they go on dates all the time.
Well, and you would think that Vok would know the name of the person who murdered Takuvma and would have that knowledge, and like
Vok
I don't know if that
ate Philippa.
And which means Tyler ate Philippa, which means as Tyler's standing there beside Giorgio, he's like,
I ate you.
Eating her.
And then Laurel's like, pass me the garlic salt.
What, you didn't hear your stomach girl? I heard
I'm so confused, you guys. I was like, I don't want sushi. I'm just gonna eat a celery stick now.
And did anyone else find it interesting that the in the Mirror Universe, they put people in agonizing booths, and they're like, oh, this is such an inhumane thing to do to prisoners. And it turns out the thing that's been on Laurel the whole time is a frigging agonizing booth?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Is there supposed to be a difference between our universe and the Mirror Universe, or no?
I was really
maybe
surprised.
That was a question that was supposed to be asked on some cool level, except that they didn't address it.
That would have been a question that Giorgio would have asked. I think would have, if she's like, oh, stop it. She's like, you guys have the same thing.
Yeah,
that would have been good if she said, but this is the same.
Yeah.
So why do you think I have even access to this?
Yeah.
You know,
of
kind
course I know how this
torture?
works. You
know
made
what I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. We're the same. That would have, to me, solidified like that crossover of, oh, are we better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they
do we
would have.
deserve? Yeah.
Sorry, exactly.
Yeah.
If they would have, before, when the Admiral was like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and you know, instead of being all, you know, just flustered at how this was not part of the Prime Directive or unethical, if somebody would have said, hey, wait a minute, why don't we have Laurel? We have Laurel here. Why don't we have her unified? Like, that seems like if they would have at least addressed the possibility in the beginning and then at the end brought her down and she's there and she's unifying it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, again, would have been like, okay, that is lots more Star Trek because, no.
I did think
the
that.
end.
Michael took a little long to
I know,
after
right?
the beating. It was like the beating
she's
went
like,
on a long time.
just
Like
2 more
Michelle
hits.
Yeoh's
Three
showing
more hits.
every like she has every like move in the book. Like she's like out practicing
Yeah.
her martial arts. Like we're like running through her whole entire repertoire of ass kicking.
Yeah.
And then
Each
she's like,
person.
oh wait, there's another way.
Now that's it.
Like somebody completely willing and totally in love with me to fix
Yeah.
this, and I just let you come in here and give
And
this lady
give her
an ass
such a
kicking.
whipping. Yeah.
Which makes me think, actually, if we could analyze and say, maybe she wanted that. Like,
Maybe
you know,
she
the
did.
Tyler thing, you know, part of her
Or the
wanted
they killed
that
my
to
family
happen.
thing.
That would have been good.
Address that. Give
That's what I'm
that
saying.
to
Yeah.
the audience.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
we
if
shouldn't.
they had actually
The
said-
audience shouldn't have to write the show. Yeah, computer.
One more scenario from Jeff. The fluffy speech medal ceremony felt so dreamlike.
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
weird that he thought that it must be a dream and there was still going to be a big final battle.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
that
too.
fluffy
Right.
sequence
The
was so out of
rain
place.
and also that's why, guys. I mean, just production design wise, again, with Mia Kirshner wearing the red in the background, and just as a design choice, that's weird because production design, you always put a hero in the red, you always put somebody in the red. That's where you want your eye to go.
Maybe
So
that's
it's all
why
dark,
everyone's
dark.
wearing blue.
Yeah,
in
but
this
then
show.
she's in the red,
Well-
and then I kept on like being brought out of the moment, going, "Why am I
That-
supposed to be looking at the mother? What the hell's going on, people?" And then
One scenario
also,
where I think the dream, it was all a dream, would have been okay as long as it's in the same episode.
That's
right?
true.
So, like within the dream, if she was like, and she was like, and the Klingon War was over.
Oh,
Wait
no,
a
the
second,
Klingon
no,
War
it's not over. It's not over. That would have been acceptable
Yeah,
to me.
because you're right, Jeff. That entire sequence felt so
Weird.
out of place in a show about basically war and death. To all of a sudden be like, well, let's shine up our medals, and now this is a happy show.
we're gonna go to Pop's chocolate shop after, guys.
Yeah,
Let's go.
it was like, you know, you look
Ruben.
at any you look at any Star Wars movie, and you know they're just brainless romps for the most part, but at least they're like fun, and then the ending is fun.
Wait a minute. Well, Chewbacca wore red in that ceremony in the
this
thing.
red
Mia
arm?
Kirshner's Chewbacca
I would believe it.
in the medal
Should've fit
ceremony.
right in there.
I
She
did-
would totally.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I have actually thought about Rogue One like quite a bit, like
Yeah.
in relation to like if it were an anthology, it's like kind of the Rogue One.
It would
you
be
know,
the
like,
Rogue One. Yeah.
Like spoiler.
And it's over.
And also the cool
You know,
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
Yeah.
I really was disappointed, and you guys know I love Michelle Yeoh. Like I love Michelle Yeoh, but I was actually disappointed that Michael didn't kill her.
Yeah.
because then it fulfilled the destiny. Like it's
Yeah.
the same.
Finish the
cyclical-
story.
Yeah, like it's happened again.
Yeah.
and
In
this
fact,
time it's
I
the
was
right
telling
thing. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I was telling Sonia as they were standing there, I was like, "Oh, I think we're going to see an emperor go down a well." It really felt like that's how that was
should
going to
be
go.
The way of
gonna
Lorca, like
Yeah.
just follow the
And
yeah.
the typewriter
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
You guys were making a lot of weird Star Wars and Star Trek references.
Yeah, it is
Like in the
it
last
is a
5
Star Trek
minutes.
war.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I feel
Maybe.
like I was thinking about how the
Weird.
difference between like Star Trek and Star Wars, you know, actually a lot after I saw this episode because they brought in a lot of Star Wars like things into the show.
Because JJ did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but then. Well, because it's like anyway, I have a whole thing. That's a whole nother thing
Yeah.
that makes me so angry. Anyway, but you know, I really like the one thing that we have like as Star Trek fans. I mean, it's not owned by Disney. It's like the last
Thing that
we're
Disney
holding
hasn't
on.
bought,
You know,
yeah.
we're holding on, and you know, it has this great message. Like I watched a thing about Uhura, you know, about Nichelle
Yeah.
Nichols and her journey, you know, and like especially since like. you know, you talk about Nichelle Nichols, it's Black History Month, you're ending on this thing, your lead is black, you know, you have all these things, like, there's all these great messages to, like, tell. And then I was like, oh. You know, if that speech was, like, stretched out over 15 episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
If the message was delivered, if that I would not have minded that feeling, that after school special, you know, today's lesson feeling, because I love that part of Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what it, yeah,
yes.
yeah,
and
that
gave
tapped
me
into
food
that.
for thought. It really did, you know, and it takes practice to, you know, you don't just learn a value, you have to practice it.
Yeah.
And if
because Star Trek has, like, heart, you know, we were talking about that, like, few episodes back, you know, I think what we're missing, I think Sonia was talking about something, a friendship or something, and then I was like, I think we're missing the love. We want, like, there to be this love, and they bring it up, like, they try and bring it up between, like, her and Ash and stuff, but it's too individualized, and not about, like, you know, more about everybody.
It's not about the family.
Yeah.
We want a family. And the fact that this show has constantly replaced the patriarch or matriarch, and it's like, this one's dead, now that one's dead, now this one's back that looked like that one, now they're gone because they're evil, and now we're going to go find another one, and we're not going to tell you who it is because we don't know what to do with it. It just feels a lot like, we're watching Supergirl, and Superman is like a city away. So why are we on this ship? Like, why are we on Discovery when the frigging Enterprise is out there doing legendary 5-year missions and no one's ever heard of this ship before? Why are we watching this show? Why did you make a prequel? Why did you make a show about something that by its very nature cannot ever be important? That's my problem.
take my hand and calm down.
Okay, it is time.
Right.
It is time. Did this episode Trek it or wreck it? Now, before we get into that, computer, any important notes?
Well, Sonia was along the same lines as you. These Star Trek producers don't believe in Star Trek. They don't take it seriously. And
yeah, there's a certain amount of either not believing in, or not liking, or not understanding, or specifically like
ramming down.
Killing. I don't know what it is. It's like JJ just didn't understand Star Trek, or he didn't care to understand it, and wanted to make a movie that had, like, Beam Me Up Scotty, a ship called the Enterprise, and there you go. That must be Star Trek. He didn't understand the heart of what makes the show great, and he just picked the things that made some of the movies popular. And I feel like we're watching a weird thing now. Star Trek has always been either movies or network TV show. And now we're watching a 15-hour primetime cable something else. And so let's talk about whether the 15th hour of that trekked it or wrecked it. Which is not to say that it was good. Was this Star Trek? Because there's so much bad Star Trek. But at least it's Star Trek. Vanya, did this episode trek it or wreck it?
I've said before, yeah, like you said, it doesn't have to be good to be Star Trek. Trekked it.
It trekked it. All right.
And it's basically because of that speech at the end. It doesn't matter how rushed it is. You know what I mean? That's Star Trek. And if they're trying to tell us, and I'm crossing my fingers, like with that speech and that whole event, and then the Enterprise, and that, they're saying this is our trajectory for season 2, this is where we're going. You know, it was rough going. We had to come in. We had to take over somebody else's idea. We're trying to build a crew, and we're trying to map out the crew. We're trying to tell you who they are, who they're going to become. You know what I mean? Their journey. Then it's Star Trek. So trekked it. That's my reasoning.
Okay. Kat? Trekked it or wrecked it? Remember, it doesn't have the heart of Star Trek.
So no.
No?
No, I'm going to say this. Here's the thing. I wanted to like it so badly.
Oh, you don't have to like it.
No, I know I don't have to like it. I wanted to. And it would have trekked it for me if they would have actively looked at the ethical decisions they were making or not making when they were about to make them. If there would have been active discussion, as there often was on TNG or original series or on anything else. Because they had torture there that I mean, hey, yeah, we can sort of be like, did she want to see this so it would make her ego feel better? But the fact is, there was torture happening to Laurel, and then there was bombs being used and cultures that were being used as negotiation points, and the Federation just basically had its thumb up its ass, making these suggestions that were so anti-Prime Directive. It wasn't even funny, and nobody caught it. So for me, I have to say it totally wrecked it. Totally wrecked it. Although, I really, that NCC and that, that the promise that there was something big, it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't
JJ
enough
had
for me.
1701, and it sure as heck wasn't Star Trek.
Yeah, it wasn't enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
tiebreaker. Wow, look at that.
I'm sorry.
I'm not apologizing.
I'm gonna. Okay, Star Trek. Yes, good TV. No, this show has been like acceptable at like very frequently acceptable television. It's almost every time disappointing because I expect excellence when you have all of Star Trek to learn from. And when we are in an age when shows don't get 4 episodes to get good, they're good out of the gate, you plan them that way. And that CBS is using a long, bingeable Star Trek series as bait to make us try to sign up for week after week after week when this show should be consumed all at once. I feel like this show is Star Trek with no follow-through. And so it trekked it, but it's just not good. And I wanted so badly for this to be just an excellent hour of television that wrapped it all up and turned it into something that made me feel like not only does it try to be Star Trek, but it has the craftsmanship to be good TV.
Yeah.
And it is not that.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there too. Like I know I Star Trek it too, and it does, and I don't change that. But like I agree with you wholeheartly about shows do start like their pilot episodes now, especially on like not even on network, like on shows like stations like this or whatever. They are good, like pilot episode. That never used to be the case. Now shows are like that all the time.
Yeah,
like,
pilots were for like
time.
figuring things out. They didn't know if they were good. The networks then had to decide if they wanted to make more of them. And not now.
But for a long time now, shows have been good from episode 1. You look back at like AMC, you look back at like Mad Men and Breaking Bad. All of those shows had good pilots. Like they started strong and they just powered through, for 5 seasons, like good and like all the fat trimmed, economical television. And you're right, and excellence, like out the gate and through to and follow through to the end of their shows, so that we can't get that from Star Trek, where you have like a wealth of stuff to pull from. Like stuff that we have never even seen that has just been talked about in Star Trek, where you could just draw from. They have all this stuff, like half of it's written. You know what I mean? Like already is really disappointing that. It's not Fuller on that end of things.
It is not Brian Fuller.
I couldn't believe when I said it. I didn't. I knew you were
gonna. Computer.
Christy says you're all gonna like this. All I gotta say is I'm really looking forward to the return of the Orville.
Right? I gotta say, the Orville is just a show that gives you what you want.
No, it's just
that's the show that Vivi calls Star Trek.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna do that, but I do feel like, I don't want it to be on the back of Orville. I want it to be in Star Trek, in the hands of the people that are making Star Trek. So come on, guys, like season 2, fucking.
I think season 2 is gonna be. Look. I think one of the things we should do, by the way, is because apparently I'm a producer on the show, and so is Fanya, and so is Sanya, and so.
All right, tell me what's up.
You're like,
is that it's season 1. It's the end of season 1. Did the season track it?
No.
We can't do that?
No, because we are going to have a whole other episode. where we are going to binge watch this show the way it should be watched, I think. Maybe it sucks.
Yeah, maybe
it
it's
could
not
be
good.
15 hours I'll never get back, but I'm going to watch the show again. We're going to watch the show again. And we're going to talk about whether that is a season of television that treks it or wrecks it, whether it's good, whether it's crap. We're going to talk about that in our next episode. It will not be in 1 week. It will not be in 2 weeks. I think it's going to be like a month because we got to get through this and we got lives to live. So, and plus Hype Night is happening on highball.tv.
Nice.
So that's going to be taking up the production of our resources for a while. So we are going to be back for that episode. We also have these 2 sweet things to give away that I promised we would give away today, and I lied because we have another episode coming, and I didn't know until this finale happened, and I was like, God, there has to be a 16th episode for this show. So that means you guys have a whole other month to make a comment on highball.tv on any of the Trek It or Wreck It episodes. Let us know what you think. So far, there are 3 people who have made some really fascinating comments on there, which means your odds are freaking good. Get on there. There's like a 1-month free thing. You can sign up and you can make some comments on there. Highball.tv, and there will be some sweet stamps in your future and a $100 iTunes gift card. So hop on there. There's iTunes money to be made and stamps to be enjoyed. I would like to thank Kat and Vanya for an excellent season of talking about Star Trek, and I'm very much looking forward. I'm very much looking forward to doing it again because we've got Sonia, who has been a fantastic computer today, and that's been like the core of our team. And Heath and Sam, we've had some great people on here with us as well, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how our next episode of Trek It or Wreck It, season long for the first 15 episodes of Discovery goes.
Can we call it NC season long? Like, something about being here, you guys.
It's just bringing out all the puns. I like it. All right, so that gives you 1 month to make some comments, get in, tell us what you think, and we will see you then.